All my life, I just try. I have no friends, no family in motorsport, and if you don't try, you can't do a career like that. So you have to try, and sometimes your motivation is just enough to show other people that you are capable of. So it's important to just try.
Welcome to the Motorsports and Driver Development Show. I'm Katie.
And I'm Kito.
And today we are joined with Victor Bilotto, who is a co-driver coming to us all the way from France. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on your show. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we are very excited to have you. We meet a lot of great drivers and co-drivers, but we're really excited to talk to someone who is from Europe, where the rallying scene is so much more storied. It's been going on so much longer. We feel like you're going to have a lot of great things to share. So thank you.
Hope so.
So let me start at the beginning. What was the path from childhood to getting into rally? Did you see it as a child and like, wow, I want to do that? Or was it something later in life? How'd you get into rally?
It's a long journey to come from the zero to now, but I will say in my family and friends, nobody was involved in rallying, whereas I'm live near the greatest rally on earth is Monte Carlo Rally. So I live just a few kilometers from here, but I was never been involved in this sport. And one day, when I was 7 years old, I saw a picture of Oriol on New Zealand Rally in '94. Mm-hmm. And I saw this on my hairdresser. But now I don't need a hairdresser anymore, but before I was more the hair before. And I saw this picture and instantly I was just amazed by the landscape, the car, and I wanted to understand what this sport is. And since then, when I was a kid, I just collect all the pictures I can on the newspaper. I just try to see videos and stuff like that. But I never been to a rally before 2000. So I was a little kid and nobody was involved, so it was difficult for the other to help me to see this kind of sports. And one day my dad come to see us with my brother and told us, do you want to see the rally in Gap, the service park? And I was, oh yeah, I want to see this in real life. And I just saw the service park, and I just want to say, I want to do that in my life. It's so amazing. There was the smells, the color of the cars, the noise, all the people, and it was just amazing. It's a small place where everybody comes. The car was just amazing compared to what we saw on the road, public road. And it was my first experience in rallying. And the first race I really saw on special stages was next year Rally Monte Carlo in 2001. And I was on the Sisteron Tour stages. It's a very famous stages in the World Rally Championship. It's just amazing, 37 kilometers. Very, very hard. And I was just at the beginning of the special stage on the first hairpin, and there was Colin McRae at the start line. And immediately when I hear the noise of the Focus WRC, my leg just shake. It was just amazing. And when I saw him sliding just 2 meters from me, it was. I have also the souvenir now, 20 years since, so it was it really marked me for the rest of my life.
So what did your dad say when you said, I want to do this? Did he laugh, or was he like, okay?
No, I was super excited, but I was young, but I was already focused on what I will doing for my school degrees and stuff like that. I was some ideas, but I wanted to be involved in it. So it's easy to say, but not so easy to do this. So after I try to inform myself about the engineering degree, some some work that you can do on motorsport. There are plenty of work you can do on motorsport. Mm-hmm. So the first one, I tried to be a photographer. So it was the easiest way when you are a spectator. It's the easiest way to start a career, I would say. And after, I wanted to be involved, so I proposed myself as a volunteer mechanic on some local team. I am lucky to be in a region that rally is very common, and there is a lot of rally. I think in France we have like 300 rallies in a year, so
wow.
It's nothing compared, I think, to UK or US when you have maybe 8 rally in a year. Here, from the beginning to small rally to biggest rally, we have 300 rallies, so it's easy to find some teams or some ideas to be involved. So at the beginning, I started to do this, and I have the idea to be an engineer because I thought that in this way I will have more opportunity to grow and to have the chance to work in it. Yeah.
Mm. So tell us how, first of all, 300 rallies a year is amazing. But what I'd like to know is how did you end up in a car?
As a co-driver.
Yeah. So I was still in my engineering degree in Paris, in engine field. So it was specific field to be an engine engineer, in fact. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine who made mostly the same study as me as the lowest level, he was a co-driver before and wanted to start on the other side of the car, and wanted to build his own car. So he didn't want to buy a car and just driving it. He wanted to be a mechanic, a real one, and try to make his own rally car. And he asked me if I wanted to join him as a co-driver to start to be a team together. Mm-hmm. So that's why I started to be a co-driver. I was never thinking about this before. I wanted to try for sure, but I never had the idea to start it. And he gave me the opportunity to be a co-driver. Yeah. Oh. So it was in. So sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask, did you go to a specific school or training to learn the notes and all of that? Or did you and your friend just figure it out as you went?
Yeah, we know rally as a spectator, or I was also a weather crew for ProDrive in Monte Carlo 2012. So I was also a gravel crew for some crew in a French championship. So I had some tools to start with, and when you're passionate, you know a little bit how it works. And so my friend just told me, no problem, I will teach you how it works. And he was co-driver for 2 years before, so he has some tools and he know how it works. And so our first rally was in 2008 in a small rally it's called Rallye du Vaison in south of France. Mm-hmm. But we made only 1 kilometer because we rolled. We rolled just 1 kilometer after the start. There was a fuel leak at the rear of the car, and we didn't notice it before we make a turn. So it was a small road at the small speeds, no drama, but just important to stop the rally immediately. So it was a hard start, especially for my friends who make a lot of effort to build his own car. He made this for 1.5 years, so it was a lot of time. Mm-hmm. But he finds the motivation to be on the next rally 2 months after, and it was in my hometown, just at the same special stage as Monte Carlo, but for a smaller rally. So, and we finished it. So it was really starting now after this rally. We can release the pressure and started to make the championship complete. But with this driver and his car, we make 8 rallies and only two finish, because when you build your own car, it's difficult to be reliable. To everything was sorted and everything like that. So all the time we had mechanical issue, and sometimes just before the start. So it was a difficult year until 2010.
Yeah.
And after you started to see some other people, to talk to other people, and you can have some other opportunity to try something else also. Yeah.
So how did you make the transition from being a co-driver for your buddy to professional co-driving?
I will say contact people and also some luck, because you need a lot of work to be good at it, to make your own tools, to make the good pace notes, to be recognized for your skills. But you also need a little bit of luck or opportunity to start to take the highest level. You can stay 10 years at the same level to be really good at you doing. But if nobody gives you the chance to change the level, you will stay at the same level all the time. So when you are starting to make some rallies or biggest one in the French Championship, you started to see other people. You are talking to other people, and the people saw what you are doing and capable of, and sometimes you have some calls, and it's a good one to change the level. So until 2014, I was between amateur and semi-professional. When I say semi-professional, it's just that you are not paying to be a co-driver, because in France, as lowest level, it's common to participate for the entry fees, for accommodation, to help your driver to compete in the rally. But when you're starting to be good, to change level, the amount of money can change a lot. And if you are really good at it, you can be a co-driver for nothing. So it's a good step in France to co-drive for nothing, and after to be paid for it, it's another story. So in 2015, I had the opportunity to make GWRC in DS3R3 in a World Championship. And I had a good company that can help me because I was an engineer in airplane in south of France, and they let me go to Portugal, to Finland, to Estonia, to try to be a professional co-driver. So it was really helpful.
Wow!
And in this period, I can start to earn a little bit of money for co-driving, but it was difficult to live for that. Yeah.
Interesting. How many drivers have you co-driven for?
I made a big table where I put all my rallies and kilometers and special stages, so I have everything for statistics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I count yesterday, I had 24 different drivers.
Wow.
And maybe 2 or 3 of them have the biggest amount of kilometers, and the other is just some help for one rally or stuff like that. So, but in total, I have 24 different drivers. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what the challenges are and maybe what you've learned from working with so many drivers.
As Lynn said, when you are the same driver all the time, it's you can create a good story because you can be mostly as best friend. You start from the beginning to the highest level, like Ogier and Ingracia did, or other Mäkinen and his co-driver. A lot of big stories with the same people, but it's difficult when you are just a beginner to stay with the same guy because your driver don't have the money to put you or improve on some other level, or you wanted to stop starting something else. So when it's the story like that are wonderful, but are very few of them. So to be involved with many drivers can also open your mind and see other way of working. It can help you to know what you like most, what type of kind of driver you like. So it's nice to see how other people can work, and this situation helped me a lot to improve myself as a co-driver, to see different way of working, and it's great when you don't have to change all the time. It's not also a good solution, but to find a balance between that, it's a nice things to improve yourself.
Yeah. So let me ask you: have you ever been on the other seat?
Driver's seat?
Have you been the driver?
Unfortunately, once I wanted to try gravel rally, which is my favorite rally on earth. I love gravel. I love that for many reasons. I love the improvisation, the landscapes. As a co-driver, you have in front instead. You have more work to do in gravel rally because you have only one run through the stages the morning of the rally with your race car. Mm-hmm. So you don't have a lot of time to tidy your pace notes. If you made a mistake during the recce, you don't have the time to correct it. So there is a lot of challenges for the gravel rally in France, and I wanted to try it, but I had never found a driver to do that because there are few rallies in France, only 6, and now 7 rallies for gravel rallies in France. So it's very few rallies, and the seats are very limited. So to find a place is difficult. And I say, okay, I will do it myself. So I try to rent a car, try to set up something to be at the start of the last rally of the championship. And I did that with a good friend of mine who never tried rallying. So I was a teacher for him also for co-driving. And it was a good adventure until the 6th stage where we crashed on a tree. It was daylight. It was at night. The car was not so much set up, and I was surprised by a bump, and we came directly to a tree, and the car was badly damaged. We were both okay, but I never regret to try it. But now with my experience, now I wanted maybe to make another rally as a driver on gravel also. To try to give a try.
So it's interesting that you talk about gravel rally. I'm assuming that the other one is tarmac. In the U.S. here, we don't have tarmac rallies. All our rallies are pretty much on gravel. I'm kind of thinking to myself, I can't remember. I think it's been quite a while since we've had a tarmac rally. So can you kind of talk a little bit about the differences between those two, so our audience sort of gets a better idea of like the difference between a tarmac rally and a gravel rally? Because in the U.S. there's just rally.
Yeah, I think it's about culture. Italy, France, Spain, Germany. Our culture is tarmac or racetrack, and we have more road suited for tarmac rally, small road, bigger road than gravel rally. Most of the gravel road are private, only for field or agriculture, and it's mostly impossible to make a lot of different rallies in France. Now everything now is mostly tarmac. Compared to Finland, Norway, or Estonia, where most of the big roads are in gravel. It's a very good load. You can run at 100 kilometers per hour on your normal car. It's not a problem. It's like a tarmac, but on gravel. And so that's why we have a lot of tarmac rallies, I think, in Europe. And the difference is in tarmac, you have to be very, very precise because each minor error can be devastating. That's why pace notes are really important on tarmac. Every millimeter count, the right gear, the right speed is counting. and so you have a lot of grips. So it can be very, very fast, but each change of a surface can be difficult. Gravel, if you cut a lot, you have a lot of gravel. If it's raining, so you can't adapt your tires all the time. You have to be very prepared for anything, and every error, like I said, can be a crash. So everything should be very, very precise. So you have some different sensation in tarmac because, like I said, there is a lot of grip. You can have a lot of speeds. Braking are very high also. But on gravel, it's different. It's more like improvisation. You can cut a lot. Your tires and suspension are more set up to absorb a bigger impact. Some stones. If you make an error, you have more chance to suit it. So it's different driving. In tarmac, it's very prohibited to make slide all the time because the time will be very bad. So it's not the same way of driving. On gravel, you help you to go sliding. It helps you not to brake too much. So you are more, like I said, coupled with your car. You can do a lot of things with your car. You can dance with your car. And on tarmac is different. It's like on the racetrack, you have to be very precise. So it's different way of driving. And in France, more people like tarmac rally, but for myself, gravel rally for 100%. 100%, yeah.
So as a co-driver on tarmac, does that mean that your notes are a lot more detailed and you're putting a lot more words to your driver, explaining to him maybe crest in the road or off camber, or I've never done tarmac rally, so I have no idea what the notes sound like, but are those the type of things that you're throwing at them?
I have a good example. My last driver, Florent Bernardi, which is a good friend of mine, and I made most of the rally with him and victory with him. It's a very good tarmac specialist. So his pace notes are really detailed. Every braking point, every meters, the corner. In France, we make Ricky we make Ricky with angle. So I think maybe you saw some video from Loeb or Rogier. It's different from in US. I think you used only one numbers to describe your corner. In France, we have more detail for only the camber, the angle of the corner. You have the camber, you have the cut also. So there is a lot of information on my pace notes. Sometimes I don't have the time to breathe for a simple thing. So for you will say just right 6, 100, right 7, and for myself I will say right 132, brake at the pole, turn 20 meters after. It's completely different and more detail. So that's why I think we are better to go faster on tarmac. And the same driver, for him, it's very difficult to have a lighter pace note from gravel, because when you say the same thing on gravel, there is no point for that, because you're all the time you are sliding. Maybe you will brake too late. So to know all this information will not help you to take the corner. You have to be prepared to improve yourself, to improvise yourself during the stages. So that's why the pace notes have to be less detailed, to have you take time to understand what you will see, and also you will drive more the car on tarmac, on gravel rally. So you just need to know if there are some danger, some not cut, some a little bit the angle of the corner, but you don't need all this information. And we have the example last year on Cyprus Rally. We tried to make a mix between his gravel pace note and tarmac pace note. And on the first leg, it was so difficult for him to understand all the information because in Cyprus it's very, very twisty. I think the average speed is 60 kilometers.
Wow.
On normal rally, it's 100 or 110.
Right.
And there it was 60 kilometers. So there is a lot of corner, and all this information, he didn't need it.
Yeah.
And but I have to say to him, so it was completely lost after 10 kilometers. I so much information, so that's why on the second leg we try to set up a little bit to erase some not useful information, but it takes time to have pace notes that can work both on tarmac and gravel rally.
Very interesting.
Is it hard to make the switch from tarmac to gravel? Like, you're reading off very different style of notes. Is that hard for you?
For me, yeah, you will take 1 or 2 special stages because after a tarmac rally with very high speed and high braking, if you come to a gravel rally, on the first corner, you will not understand why you are completely on the other side of the road, why we will crash, we have to brake. But after, when you are used to, it's more easier, but you have to practice a lot. And that's why in France we have a factory cup like Peugeot or Citroën where they mix tarmac and gravel rally to prepare young driver to be ready for highest level in ERC or WRC, and it's a good school to improve yourself, to be capable of changing surfaces a lot. Because when I take the example of Florian Bernardi, all this career he made on tarmac rally, so now at 32 years old, it's difficult for him to change everything and readapt himself to the gravel rally. It will take time. He's a very good driver, so I'm not afraid for him to be good at it, but it will take 2, 3, 5 rallies to be very competitive.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You mentioned the schools. It seems like just in Europe generally, there are a lot more school opportunities if you want to get into rally. Do you find that a lot of the drivers you ride with have gone through some kind of school program to become a rally driver?
Ogier Orlob made a program that it's called Rally Jeune. So you came with 20 euros on a day. There is maybe multiple hundred people that come for this kind of events. So there is a small track on a parking spot, and you have 2 or 3 tests before they will take your best time, and the 10 or 15 best people will make a final on a real racetrack, on a real race car, and the 3 best one will have opportunity to have a real program in France, so on tarmac and gravel rally, 6 rallies on the year, and you are competed in a formula called Junior Championship in France on the same car, but the winner of this I would say operation are competed with the same guy, and if you are the winner, you can have a program in WRC2 like Adrien Fourmeau, maybe you know him. He made that. He started with 20 euros, and now he's a factory driver in Ford in WRC2 championship. So he'll take 4 years to be there, but he started with 20 euros. So it's a good opportunity to start with nothing. If you are really good at it, you can follow your dreams to be a factory driver.
I love that.
So when it comes to rally and their development, are they developing people to be both tarmac and gravel drivers, or at some point do they ask somebody to specialize, like you're better at tarmac, you're better at gravel, we're going to work more with you at this, and you're going to work more on gravel. Do they do that, or do they just teach them everything all at once?
It's not very a school. It's just there are some people that can follow you to help you for sports, for mental strength, for driving and stuff like that. But they will, I think, naturally see what is your weakness. Mm-hmm. So after it's on your own to work on it to be better. If you feel better on gravel, maybe you have to work on tarmac. But most of this kind of driver, like Aube, Ogier, or Adrien Fourmeau, start with nothing or just small karting, stuff like that. So they have to learn everything from rallying. So if they are very good at it, we will see really quickly where their weakness were. So after you have to work a lot. They can help you with some people, but it's your work also to find some sponsorships, some help to try to reach the top level also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I want to hear about, you did I don't know if it was a single event or a series, but you won with your driver and you guys won a car. I think it was a Clio. Is that the right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, in 2018, Florent Bernardi, my old driver from 2012, called me back to be his co-driver because I was involved in a rally team, a professional rally team in France. And I was stopping co-driving for 1.5 years because I was no time to do both. But when he knew that I made my own company, he immediately called me to know if I was available to help him to win his championship. So it was the Renault Trophy Clio Championships only on tarmac. Renault never put a car on gravel. So there was 6 events on a French championship at the same time that with the other guys are competed to win the French title. And we made a very good season with 4 victory in 5 rallies.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big season, and we also discovered the ERC championship. So we discovered the Rally Islas Canarias in the Isle of Canarias, and also the Roma Rally Capital. It was a new one in ERC. And we won also the ERC, our first appearance in ERC in Canarias in Spain. And we were, I think, we crashed unfortunately at the end of Roma Capital Rally, and we were second, so it was a shame. But we made the big year, and the prize was the Renault Clio RS road car, completely road car. And it was a different price that we are used to, just money or some pieces. Yeah.
Do you still have the car?
No, we have to sell it to a sponsorship for last year. He didn't take the car too much. He wanted to take it, but we need money to be in the ERC championship in 2019. So unfortunately, he had to sold it. Yeah.
Yes. You say you need money too. That's all you need. Rally takes money. So talk to us a little about your business. You've been a co-driver for so long, and now you've turned it into a bit of a business. What is your business?
Yeah, so after in 2017, I had the opportunity to start my own business as a freelancer. So I had to move to another city for my girlfriend's job. So, but I didn't want to stop my activities in rallying. So I tried this solution to start my own company. And because I have a lot of contacts and I was involved in rallying with no break, I knew that people know me. So I said it was the right time to start my company. So I was just a professional co-driver for Florian most of the time, and also I was a coordinator, logistics and sportive aspects for teams like Saint-Eloque Racing, Citroën Racing, and DG Sport, Belgium team also. So in WRC or ERC, and I was the help for the team manager in all the logistics and sportive aspects. So you have to prepare the rally before the event. So it was for WRC, it's 1 month before the event. You to make all the travel arrangements, all the entry fees, all the service park form and stuff like that. So it's a lot of work. And during the event, it's more like a sportive aspect. So you have to be very aware of the regulation. There is a lot of change all the time. So you have to be aware of everything. And in this level, the co-driver needs to have some help on this aspect. So you have to be you have to form a couple with the co-driver, and he will really count on you to be effective on this kind of event. So he has a lot of work to do with his pace note and racing. So if you can help him for the other stuff, it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, so that brings up a couple questions, sort of backtracking a little bit. When you guys do recce, do you only get one pass then? You get one look at and then that's it? Or do you have a time frame? Or
yeah, in France now there copies the WRC regulation. So now we have only two run on each special stages. So you can choose the weekend before the event. It's better for people that are living near the rally, or if you have a company, or if you cannot have a lot of day off, or you can do that like a WRC events 2 days before the events. So you have a limited time. Each special stages has a time I would say time planning. So maybe the first one, it's only from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And the second one, maybe it's not 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So you have to, it's your job to set up the best way to make all the stages on the day, on the right time. Right. So sometimes I can spend completely one day to see all the maps and solutions to be more effective, to do less kilometers, to do with less time, and etc. So it's a lot of work to prepare everything. Now we have the pace note, so it's easier. But when you are new to the rally, you can have a lot of work to prepare only the recce, and after, of course, the pace note.
So then the other question I have that kind of leads into this too is in a rally, a bigger rally, maybe in France, how many cars race, and then how many do you have in your class, the Clio class?
So I think the smallest, so French Championship, it's 9 events. So the biggest rally in France is 9 events, and it can be between 140 cars to 210 cars. So you have also historic cars. So on some rally like Rallye du Var or Rallye du Mont Blanc, they are very famous in the historic category. So sometimes there are 50 historic cars on those rally. And after, on your class, it depends. If you have an R5 cars, it's between 20 and 25 R5 cars. And in Renault Cup or Citroën Cup or Peugeot Cup, in Renault, maybe you will have 30 cars competed for the same championship. So all the time, it depends on your class, but you can count on between 10 and 30 cars on the same class. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to get an idea for people why logistics works over there. Here,
so important.
so important, right?
Yeah.
Over here, things are a little more lax, and so it's maybe a little easier. But sounds like it's pretty intense over there. Your time windows are really short, and you have to be at a certain stage during these particular times when it's open. So that makes a lot of sense. That's there. So I'm assuming you stay pretty busy then.
Yeah. And especially we have to do that because now, unfortunately, motorsport is not so much appreciated in Europe for many reasons, like ecology or price or stuff like that. So you have to make some concession to continue to make rally. So, and especially for the people who are lived near the rally, you cannot close the road during the day only for the rally, but for the recce, the road are opened. So you have to follow the road rules. Very important for that because we have a lot of. If not, you have a lot of fees if you are too fast, if you make an accident, and we have to be very careful for everything like that because a small incident on the recce stages can cancel the rally for next year. So we have to be very, I would say, comprehensive and understand that it's a sport, it's a passion, but not everybody are sharing your passion. So we have to share the road for cyclists, for trailers or stuff like that. So we have to be careful.
Okay, one last question then that relates to that. Do you see rally moving into electric power in the future?
It's a good question. I'm not big fan of electric because I think it's not the good way because of the battery recycling and the range of the battery. Right. I am okay to make a transition to ecological power, but I think electric is not a transition. There is a lot of other problems in the future. We will have a lot of other problems for recycling, for the battery and stuff like that. So maybe we have to wait for another technology like hydrogen or maybe solar energy. I don't know, but it will be more efficient and maybe more ecologic than electric. But if Rally wanted to survive in next 5 years, they have to switch to something hybrid. Maybe it's not electric, maybe something else, but all the other big sports like Formula One, WEC, maybe now MotoGP, Formula E, everybody comes to another technology. So Rally has to improve and find something to survive. So I don't know that I'm not sure that electric will help rallying right now because battery will be not I would say not enough to make a rally in WRC 350 kilometers wet section and special shaded. It's too much for a battery, but maybe try to find something else to show that we are making effort and we have to do some effort, of course. Motorsport has to be implemented in the ecological way, so we have to find something. But maybe rally in 5 or 10 years, will be some smallest rally just to wait for another technology to appear and to start again for bigger rally and stuff like that.
Yeah. You said you were talking about the people in the local areas not always being thrilled to have the events. I feel like that is universal. Everywhere we race, we're constantly trying to balance the neighbors and our race. So yes, but hydrogen and solar both sound very interesting.
They do.
We could,
But so we have to wait. I think now hydrogen or solar power is too low for motorsport, so we have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're an engineer, so you can
Yes.
take that on. So what's next for you? What are you doing next in Raleigh?
We have to wait that everything gets started again. So in France, it will be Rallye du Mont Blanc in September,
Okay.
the first one after the crisis.
Yeah.
So everybody is very impatient to start again.
Yes.
And I hope to have some activities in for other team in ERC or WRC when everything will be started.
Mhm.
So yeah, we are waiting that the machine will come to life again. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh, we definitely feel your pain.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending the time with us and talking to us today. Tell people where they can find both you and maybe your company online or on Instagram.
yeah, so I have a page in Instagram, LinkedIn, and also Facebook. So
Okay.
they can put also my name or my company's Iringa Motorsport, so
Mhm.
they can find some information about that on those social media. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes, we will link to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you again
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.